So let's hop straight into it. This is going to be my weekly analysis for US30, NAS 100, and SPX. All right, so as you can see on my chart still, I have basically my markups from last week. So every Sunday, right, the first thing I do, not really when I wake up in the morning, but the first thing I'm going to do trading wise is I'm going to go over my charts, look at what I had last week, look at what I did wrong, look at what I could have done better, and also prepare myself for the next week. Now, in this video, I'm not really going to go over what I did last week. I'm just going to readjust the markups I had from last week. So to get started on US30, first thing, so to get started on US30, the first thing we're going to be doing is going to the daily, right? Top-down analysis is obviously the first thing we're always going to do on any time frame. Put it like this. We're going to do a top-down analysis. So we're going to look at the daily time frame and see what we see. So on the daily, obviously, what do we got? A huge engulfing candle, higher low, higher high. We see that it's definitely pushing up. It broke through my level of resistance here. So we may see this move from the area that it's currently at. Where's my toolbar? We may see it move from this area and then make a push up into here. You may want to pull back down first and then push up, or it may just want to push up. So in either case, we're looking for buys. So now we're going to go down to the 4-hour. And what we want to do is remark our 4-hour levels. So as of right now, my 4-hour levels are going to be the blue. Let me get this off the screen. My 4-hour levels are going to be the blue boxes. So for me, being that this hasn't officially broke the highs, I need 2 candles. This is still going to be the highs up here respected. But what I can potentially... No, I'm not even. So yeah, nothing's really changing as far as the 4-hour highs and lows as far as me right now. I would say that I can move this right here as my new higher low, but it wouldn't be a higher low because the point before it wasn't a higher high, nor did it match this to become equal highs. So we're going to keep our higher low down here, keep a higher high up here, understanding that once it breaks this, our new higher low could become this point, but again, it's going to be the same point regardless. So this is going to remain my zone for a long time. This is going to be my highs until it breaks for at least 2 candles. So now I'm going to drop down to the 1-hour. And all of this really understandably is to identify areas where the market can reverse at and direction in the market. Also getting structure so we can see a kind of a feel of what the market may be looking to do next. But a lot of this is just trying to find direction and entry point. So on the 1-hour, what do we have? We got to find highs and lows. So the previous lows are here, and the current highs are up here. So now that we have that in place, we see that the 4-hour is in an uptrend. We see the daily is showing real bullish candles stemming from the end of last week. And we see that the I think I said the 1-hour, or either way, the 1-hour and the 4-hour are both bullish, and the daily is showing that it can continue to buy as well. So moving into next week for US30, I'm going to be looking for trades to basically bounce off of this basically 42,700 level here, move back up into these highs, and potentially even make a push up to this 43,325 area right here. Now, can it, just push straight through and not retest this? Of course, it may just push through my 1-hour highs, retest it, and then look for buys. But either way, all of my entries are going to come along areas. So I'm either going to be looking for buys here, and let me lock this. I'm going to be looking for buys either there, here, here, and here. Those are all the areas where I'm going to be looking for buys at. Why am I looking for buys way down here, even though the 1-hour is going to be flipped over by the time it gets down there? For the simple fact that the 4-hour will still be in a bullish structure. So when it gets down here, I can always look for the 4-hour to hold up on this level and therefore to continue to push up, which would mean that even though the 4-hour is up and the 1-hour is down, since this is a stronger level and this 4-hour is a stronger time frame than the 1-hour, we can anticipate the 1-hour shifting structure off of this level and continuing to buy. So it'll be somewhat more like an early entry. But these are where I'm looking for all my entries on US30 for this week. Now moving on to SPX. All right, I don't really use fib. I just had it here also on the BS. But as you can see, this overall market is triangulating. This was from last week, but we're going to start again on the daily. Even though I really should have started on the weekly. I'm going to go back to US30 real quick to see what the weekly looks like. Even though, again, I'm sure it's very bullish. Yeah, it's breaking the highs right here, as you can see. All right, the weekly made highs in this area over here. It's currently making new highs with this wick, so more than likely going to continue to push. So let's look at SPX again. Also, same thing. We see it making highs. A lot of these pairs are the same because about only a handful of companies move all of them. So we see it making highs. We see on the daily again. We have this ascending triangle. Not really an ascending triangle. It is a triangle. I just don't know which one. But this could be given the pair that we're on. We're trading the indices. So a lot of the times when we notice indices make big falls like this, they tend to rebound and they continue to rebound. They continue to break the highs. So a lot of these structures I'm expecting to just be bullish structures. So even though this could be a rising wedge, I'm not really expecting this to make a steep fall. If anything, I'm expecting it to break these highs and continue to buy up to the next highs, which will be up around here. And to get into the point, I'm expecting market to reach above here, like about here for the week, if it decides to buy. So again, on the daily, we see that it has this bullish structure. On the weekly, it showed bullish candles. On the daily, it's currently showing bullish candles while we have a higher low, higher highs, making new highs, engulfing candle. Can we see it continue to pull back? Of course, you know, that can happen at any point, but we're going to be looking for buys throughout the week. As I said before, this is more about finding areas to buy from and understanding what direction it could potentially travel. So if we're buying it, obviously we're looking for it to travel up. Now we have this triangle that's squeezing the market. We have 1, 2, 3 touches on the bottom, 1, 2, 3 touches on top. So right now there isn't any real winner of who can potentially break on what side or blah, 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 whatever I'm talking about, right? So boom. Next thing we're going to do is look at the 4-hour. And we're going to see the highs and lows of the 4-hour. So being at the previous highs of the 4-hour, we're up here and it broke these highs. We now have a new higher low and we have almost new higher highs. I'm waiting for this to pull back before we can make new higher highs. But for now, we're going to put our higher low here. Delete this. And this is going to be the retest zone here. And then once this makes highs, then we'll put a new zone up here for the new highs. I'm still going to leave my purple line here, which is my liquidity area where the market can really make a big push off of. As you can see, when it gets here, a lot of money is being moved when it gets to these areas. So I'm going to leave these the same. I'm going to see if there's any up higher that I like. I didn't put any previously because I just don't like to force any of these areas. Like if it doesn't look clean to me, I really don't like putting it on the chart. Maybe we can work out this area, more of a TP than an actual trading level, but you never know. Maybe it might get there and show me something I like. I'm expecting this market to definitely move through this area up into these next liquid area, whether it comes back and retests or it just continues to push out. I'm expecting it to make a push through this level, whether it be this week or next week. But being that this week is coming off a lot of buy pressure, we may just see this continue to push straight through with these. So now we got the 4-hour lows, the 4-hour retest. Now we're going to go down to the 1-hour and fix those 1-hour levels. So what we had a lower high, we had a lower low. Then we had to make new highs, making this right here the higher low now. I like to do mine from the body of the candle to the bottom of the wick. And then we have the new highs up here. Bam. And then if I had to do a retesting zone, I guess I would do the previous highs from before, something like that. Now, at the end of the week, I was looking for buys out of this level. I think I might have taken a small loss here, maybe because I was early, or maybe I just didn't have it marked up properly. I don't know. Maybe I took it, maybe I didn't. I don't all the way remember. But I do know at the end of last week, I was looking for some buys, and I didn't actually win. I just don't know what pair I took them on. But in any case, clearly, had I taken it on SPX, you know, 15-minute time frame, lower high, lower low, you know, pulled my entry right around here, I would have been up at least a 1-1, 1-1.5. Probably would have got close to 1-2. Could have been floating profit. I would have taken it out because I don't like swap. But in any case, this is what we have for the SPX. We're going to be looking for our entries on any of these zones, whether that be down here, anywhere in here, and then up above here. That's what we're going to be looking for, all our entries on SPX. Now we're moving over to NAS 100. Finally, weekly top-down analysis. We're going to look at this. I don't know why I have these here, just maybe for zones. Is there anything I see? Just a lot of buy pressure, higher low, higher high. Daily, we see it kind of triangulating as well. I just don't have the top trend line drawn in. I could draw it in, but I don't really, it doesn't really make much of a difference. But again, what do we see? Bullish pressure, more of an indecision candle. This one, it actually, no, it's more of a, nah, I'm lying, lower high, lower low. So this one's, even though it's showing it closed bullish, for me, this will be more of a bearish candle. On the 4 hour, now that we're going to go through our strategy and see what our highs and lows are in the areas that we can potentially take. I'm gonna assume buys given the market, condition of US30 and SPX. NAS 100 right now is currently more in a bearish market. As you can see, we have highs up here, lower lows, and we had the retest, and now it's at the previous highs, and that reflects this daily candle because in my mind it is a bearish candle. Even though it closed bullish, in my mind it is a bearish candle, and the 4 hour reflects that, being that it's in a downward position. Now, I'm not all the way sold on the sell for the simple fact that in the past I had a trade strategy that would basically be this. It would be the letter V. So whenever the market did something like this and it broke the lows, right, I would expect it to come back up to the highs, and if it breaks these highs, my entry would be right above the highs, stop loss below the lows, and then we'll just take it up. Now, it wasn't that effective because the stop loss was too great, so I ended up tweaking it, but the whole system and the thought behind it still works the same. More than likely, if it breaks these lows and then it goes to break the highs right after, more than likely this was all just a fake out and it's going to continue to buy up anyway. So we got the 4 hour highs, the 4 hour lows, we got the 4 hour retest. There's not really much I can change here because it's still inside that structure. So all I'm going to do now is drop down to the 1 hour. We're looking sales on NAS, mind you. All right, this is a seller's market because I go off of the 4 hour and daily direction. So on the 1 hour, we had the highs, we had the lows, we had the retest. Then it ended up breaking these highs. It made new highs, it made a higher low. It made this the higher high, which I'm assuming I didn't fix because it was the end of the week and I was done trading. This is the highs and this is the retest. So on the 1 hour, I can look buys. I was looking buys in here. I think I did catch a quick little play. I caught a quick win at the end of the week off of buys in this area. Even though it was buying up into a level of resistance, I understand when I can break my rules or when I can, go against certain confirmations only because of the fact of what I've known over my past 7 years of trading. So yeah, so the 1 hour's up. I can go against the 4 hour direction. If the 1 hour direction is against it, I can go with the 1 hour. It all depends on how much profit I can potentially take, what the structure of the market looks like. A bunch of things come into key because obviously you don't want to just counter trend trade. You don't want to counter trend trade all the time. You gotta, if you're gonna do it, first of all, you gotta be good at trading with the trend. And two, you gotta understand the market on a deeper level to understand where it can get to and what it might want to look like. So right now, there's not much to change on the 1 hour. Yeah, so going over all of these one last time, we have NAS overall sell market. I can look for this to break the highs right here. If it breaks these highs, more than likely we're going to continue to buy all through the week. I am probably going to continue to look buys on the 1 hour because I don't really believe in this 4 hour sell, but you never know what could happen. Again, SPX, these are all the areas that I'm going to be looking for buys at. It's a buyer's market. And then on US30, all the areas where I'm looking for buys. And now that's one other reason why I expect buys out of NAS, even though it's in a seller's market, is because US30 plays a big factor on SPX and NAS. So if the US30 is buying, then more than likely we're going to see NAS buying. And that's kind of just how the correlation goes. So being that US30 is in a buyer's market and NAS is showing a potential buying structure, I'm going to just assume that it can buy and only look for buys there. If it doesn't buy and it ends up selling, oh well. I'm not looking for sales at all. If anything, I'll just look buys on my other two pairs. Simple as that. But I'll catch y'all next week, and we're going to see how this analysis goes. More than likely, I'm going to be correct on the analysis because, a lot of the time it isn't about the direction or even the area. It's more about your entry. The entry is the most important part of trading. Don't let nobody tell you different. They can tell you all these different markups. They can tell you different ways to market chart up, different ways to view the market, different ways to find an entry. But the entry, actually doing it, is the most important part of trading. It doesn't really matter, what the direction is. It doesn't matter where the zones are. If you got a good entry strategy, then all of that becomes a backseat to it. Because if you have a good stop loss and a good TP and good odds that it's going to go, then more than likely you're going to make money in this market. So you know, we're gonna go from there. Entry is the most important thing. Not the saying that we're not going to use these other, you know, zones, trend lines, structures. That would be dumb. But entry is the most important. These are just places that I can get the entry, not the most important part of the actual trade. So we're going to look back at this at the end of the week to see what happened and take the trades or look at these areas if you want to. More than likely, they're going to be good areas for setups. So, you know, I'll see y'all next week.